The following is a production of Bedbugs Exterminator Manhattan.com, serving all 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Staten Island. Bedbug bites. Bedbugs are an annoying and potentially frustrating pest that prefers to utilize humans as its primary feeding source. If there is no human host available for feeding, bedbugs are adapted to feed off of other animals that are warm-blooded, including pets, bats, rodents, and birds. How long have bedbugs been around? Bedbugs have been around for a pretty long time. The first times that bedbugs were recognized in the English language as a nuisance was in the 17th century, although they have been quite obviously existing for a much longer period of time. Bedbugs are too well adapted to human feeding to have only been around for a few hundred years. In the late 19th and early 20th century, bedbugs were incredibly widespread across many parts of the United States. After the Second World War, however, insecticides had a profound effect upon the scourge of bedbugs across the country. The problem is that one of the primary insecticides used during this era was DDT, which has been discontinued in the use of in the United States and most first world countries. In addition to new insecticides, the mid-20th century was a period in which the average American's knowledge and attention to personal hygiene and house cleaning also had a positive effect on stemming the tide of bedbugs. Finally, regulation of the sales of used mattresses, bedspreads, and furniture had a significant effect on the decline from a regulatory perspective. Bedbugs are coming back. Over the last 15 to 20 years, bedbugs have started to become a nuisance once again. Although they are among the least dangerous of common household pests, they are one of the largest annoyances due to their capacity to deliver numerous itchy and unglamorous bites. One of the primary factors that has induced an increased presence of bedbugs in the United States is that many pest control companies no longer commonly use insecticide sprays, but have converted to a system of traps and baits in order to eliminate the presence of pests such as cockroaches and ants. These traps are incredibly effective at getting rid of bugs that thrive on human scraps, but bedbugs live off of the humans themselves, so traps are a completely ineffective way of managing a bedbug infestation. An additional factor which is widely believed to have led to an increase in bedbug problems in the United States is that international commerce and travel into the United States is more common now than ever, and bedbugs often hitch rides with people and products overseas to their new homes in the United States. Bedbugs, especially those in the nymph stage, have a particularly nefarious ability to remain dormant for extended periods of time, which only makes them more effective at long-distance travel. Bedbugs, as well as their eggs, have been found in all sorts of products that make the trip to America: furniture, bedding, clothing, and luggage in particular. Bedbugs have also been shown to infiltrate all of the popular means of travel. They are found on buses and trains, as well as in ships and airplanes. They bury themselves into the seats and wait for unsuspecting travelers to get comfortable before crawling toward their next source of dinner. Bedbugs most often make their home in places which have a large amount of people moving in and out, like apartment complexes, dorms, hotels, shelters, and prisons. Although you may associate bedbugs with uncleanliness, this is most often not the case. Where in the world do bedbugs live? Bedbugs generally live in large metropolitan areas with high population densities. There are 3 primary forms of bedbugs. The bedbugs most commonly found in New York and other temperate areas of the northern hemisphere are known as Cimex locularius. This type of bedbug is found in the United States and Canada, as well as Central Asia and most of Europe. This type of bedbug also lives in temperate areas of the southern hemisphere, but it is much more rare and sporadically located. There is another form of bedbug which has evolved to thrive in tropical climates, but it is rare in North America except in the tropics. There is a third form of bedbug in America known as Cimex hemipterus, but it is commonly found only in Florida. How to identify bedbugs? Fully developed bedbugs are reddish-brown or brown in color. Although they are shaped oval from above, they appear very flat from the side. This specific shape gives them an adaptive ability to easily hide in crevices and cracks. Although they are very flat before they feed, after drinking blood they become fat and swollen with blood. They are generally around 1/4 inch in length. On the back of the bedbug are vestigial pads that are designed to carry the burden of wings. Although bedbugs are flightless and wingless creatures, if you look closely, they also have tiny beaks that they use to pierce the skin and suck blood. What do bedbug eggs look like? Bedbug eggs are incredibly small, but they are easy to recognize when spotted. Bedbugs lay eggs that are solid white in color and are incredibly tiny, only around 1/32 of an inch in length. What bugs are similar to bedbugs? In North America, there are a few types of insect which appear in the same general areas as bedbugs, but are actually different bugs. Three insects commonly mistaken for bedbugs are swallowbugs, chimney swift bugs, and bat bugs. Although these bugs are not directly related, they look so similar that it can take the eyes and equipment of a professional to tell the difference. In some areas, bedbugs are less common than their visually similar counterparts. What is the bedbug development cycle? Females of the species have the capability to lay as many as a dozen eggs each day. Egg clutches are released in very tight spaces, which protect the eggs from damage and disturbance. As the eggs are laid, they are covered in a glue-like substance so that they adhere to one another as well as the crack in which they are laid. Hatching time for the eggs can vary from 6 to 17 days. After the eggs hatch, the nymphs are born with the ability and urge to feed. In order for a bedbug nymph to continue development, it must draw blood from a host. After it has had its first meal, it will proceed to molt. The process of feeding and molting is mechanical in nature and is necessary for the nymph to reach adulthood. The nymph goes through 5 cycles of molting and feeding in order to become fully developed. With each molting, the nymphs grow larger and larger until they take on the characteristic color of the adults of the species. The time that it takes for a bedbug nymph to reach adulthood is completely dependent upon a combination of temperature and food availability. In warm temperatures, bedbugs can become fully mature in about 3 weeks. In cooler temperatures, it can take as long as 4 months to reach maturity. If there is no active food source available, bedbugs can live for a number of months in dormancy. After the bedbug reaches maturity, its life lasts for an additional year to 18 months. Under ideal circumstances, bedbugs can reproduce 3 or more times annually. Bedbug habits. Although they may not look like much, bedbugs are incredibly fast for their size. Combined with their nocturnal nature, this makes them exceptionally hard to spot. Bedbugs feed exclusively on the blood of warm-blooded animals, with a preference toward humans. If no human host is readily available, they will go for pets or any other animal that is in the vicinity. They almost always feed in total darkness, when their host of choice has fallen asleep. Bedbugs drain blood from their host using a built-in tool known as a proboscis. The bedbug proboscis is nearly identical to that of a mosquito. The proboscis is the biological equivalent of a syringe, and the insect uses it to pierce the skin. In order to draw blood effectively, bedbugs release a fluid in their saliva which acts as a blood thinner, preventing natural clotting long enough for the bedbug to get its fill. Bedbugs remain stationary for a rather long time, until their stomachs become fully distended with blood. Bedbug nymphs feed much more quickly than their parents. A nymph's first meal can last as long as 3 minutes, but an adult bedbug meal can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. After completing their blood meal, the bedbugs run for safety and remain sedentary until their meal is fully digested. Bedbugs generally remain in the hiding place unless they have been disturbed. They naturally emerge only when they are hungry for their next meal. What do bedbugs do during the day? During daylight hours, bedbugs remain hidden in dark and safe locations. Although bedbugs will hide anywhere that they can get away with, they have a significant preference for areas made of paper, wood, and especially fabric. If a guaranteed host is nearby, the bedbugs will race very close to that host. In the absence of a host, bedbugs will actually have the ability to migrate long distances in order to locate a permanent host. When a bedbug infestation first takes root, they generally take root in the folds, seams, and tufts of mattresses. But as the infestation grows, they move on to the wooden surfaces on and around the bed, especially in cracks of the bedspread itself. In severe manifestations, bedbugs will begin to make home in any suitable location near anywhere the host may rest. They have also commonly been known to hide in furniture, baseboards, beneath carpet, and even in the frames and windows of doors. Other common locations are behind wallpaper, among drapery, behind pictures and wall decorations, and even in the ceiling. The ultimate variety of locations is dependent upon the size of the infestation and the guarantee of regular feeding. What do bedbug bites look and feel like? Bedbugs are stealthy creatures, and they have a bite to match. There is no pain or sensation associated with a bedbug bite. Although after the feeding has taken place, the location of the bite can become quite irritated. The anticoagulant released during feeding time eventually leads directly to skin inflammation and discomfort. Different people have different levels of sensitivity for bedbug bites. In the worst case scenario, the victim will develop tiny welts of swollen skin at every feeding site. These welts are white in color, and they are very hard in texture. These welts can cause intense itching that can last anywhere from a few hours to a number of days. Under normal circumstances, There is no danger of illness associated with bedbug bites, but severe scratching can cause the bedbug's bites to become infected. Although bedbug bites are incredibly annoying and aesthetically displeasing, even a severe attack of bedbug bites are not able to draw enough blood to be a physiological issue for the host. What is the clearest sign of a bedbug bite? Bedbug bites usually follow a distinct pattern. If you see lines of 3 or more welts on the skin, left exposed overnight, then you are likely the victim of bedbugs. You can differentiate bedbug bites from flea bites, because flea bites have red centers, as bedbug bites do not. Although bedbug bites are not dangerous, many individuals have a negative psychological response to them. These symptoms range from insomnia to simple stress and anxiety. Bedbug bites, unlike many other forms of bites like flea and tick bites, do not have any capacity for disease transmission. How can I recognize a bedbug infestation? Besides the bites themselves, there are a few trademark ways that you can recognize a bedbug infestation. When bedbugs are crushed, they leave tiny bloodstains on the fabric of your mattresses, blankets, clothing, and sheets. Bedbugs also leave distinct markings when they defecate. Rather than blood red, the stains are a rusty brownish red color, and can be found anywhere leading from their feeding location to their hiding spots. Near the nesting location itself, you will see shells indicative of bedbug nymph molting, tiny broken shells from hatched eggs, and fecal stains. If the infestation is very severe, then there may be a musty, sweet, and offensive odor associated with infestation. This smell is released from the scent glands of the bedbug. This article was a production of Bedbugs Exterminator Manhattan.com, serving all 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Staten Island.